Lexus, and what would come to one's mind is usually a car like this or something like this in today's SUV crazed world. But with the LFA, Lexus was able to prove to the world that it's not just about luxury. It can make cars that are fast, and at the same time the LFA could even break glass with its exhaust sound. But the LFA is a car from the past, and today if you are to buy a car that screams performance in Lexus's portfolio, it has to be this one right here. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the Lexus RCF. The RCF has all the ingredients that you would expect from a performance car. In this bright paint job, it definitely looks striking, and it has loads of carbon fiber to give it that go fast intent. Of course, like any modern sports car, it has got sharp creases all around, it sits low, it has a dynamic stance, and being a Lexus, it also looks quirky, which is what you would expect. More importantly, and something that I like, is the fact that it screams in your face and tells you that, hey, I'm Japanese. And this is something I really love about Lexus. They are proud about their Japanese heritage, something unfortunately Indian car makers have failed to do regularly. Now, before I go ahead and tell you about how fast this car is or what is right or wrong about the performance, let me take you through a bit about the cabin. And once you step inside the cabin, well, that is where things start to go a bit south. Now, the reason why I say that is because when you look at the exterior, which, like I said, is striking and bold to look at and looks as if it belongs to the present times, once you step inside the cabin of this car, you suddenly feel as if it comes with an interior that was taken from a car probably a decade old. It just doesn't feel as if it's an interior that belongs to modern times. All of these things, including the small infotainment screen, which does not support touch, the way the dashboard has been designed, the buttons all around, well, it all is not in sync what we are used to seeing in modern cars. But beyond that, if you look at the material quality, the fitment quality, all the carbon fiber inside the cabin, well, no complaints in that respect. The car has top-notch quality in these departments. It's just the design that doesn't just go well with what you would expect in today's times. Now, other things that you might not end up liking in this cabin include this infotainment screen. Of course, the size is quite small and it does not support touch. Like I said, you have to operate it using this trackpad that we are used to seeing in Lexus car, and like I have said in my earlier reviews of Lexus cars, this is a very annoying system to use. But then there are some good bits too inside this cabin, and the first one of them is this instrument cluster, which has a nice digital central pod, and this is somewhat reminiscent of the kind of graphics we have seen in the Lexus LFA. So yes, it's a nice combination of analog, speedometer, and everything else being digital, easy to decipher information, and good looking at the same time. Even the seats are brilliant. Of course, both the driver and the co-passenger seats have absolutely amazing cushioning and very good side support, and this really comes in handy when you're going hard around corners. You have place for two more at the back, but like in most sports cars, it's a pretty much useless space for adults. And just in case you're guessing what about the boot space, well, you'll be surprised to know that this has a pretty much practical and usable boot too. And now the most interesting part that you all have been waiting for, the performance. Now, well, if numbers are purely anything to go by, the RCF is not the lightest car in its segment, and Well, it's among its rivals, it's not the fastest as well, it's not the quickest as well, and we've already told you that, well, in terms of cabin or infotainment as well, it's not the best. Well, then why would you buy it, right? The question is, why would someone go ahead and buy the RCF? Well, if you're someone who buys an expensive or a fast machine to sit down at a cafe in the evening with your friends and get into a conversation which is on the lines of mine is bigger than yours, well, then this is the time that you probably would not want to watch or listen to what I'm going to say. But if you are someone who enjoys the unadulterated joy of driving a naturally aspirated engine, and you're a purist who understands that a naturally aspirated engine is always so much better in terms of a blissful experience than a turbocharged motor, well, then this is the car that you really need to have a go at. Now, the RCF is powered by a big 5-liter V8 motor, and this develops a little over 470 horses and a little over 500 Newton meters of torque. But what's important is the way this power is delivered to the rear wheels. And because it's a naturally aspirated engine, once it has its lungs full, it just shoots into the horizon, and it's amazing how quickly it can make things disappear and everything around you turns into a blur. Talking about making things disappear, well, if you're not careful with it, it can make you disappear too pretty quickly. But then again, it's a Lexus and it comes with a lot of active and passive safety technology, so unless you are unfortunate or you are an absolute idiot, you will find yourself to be safe in this car. As far as acceleration goes, this car shoots off the line with no hesitation because, like I said, there is no turbocharger, so there is no lag, and that means the response from the throttle is instant, and this machine just accelerates pretty violently, and the soundtrack that you get that accompanies the performance is amazing because, again, a naturally aspirated engine, and it's a growling sound that you get from the exhaust. It is nothing short of pure music. All of this power is sent to the rear wheels through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, this transmission does a decent job. It does not compromise the performance or the abilities of the engine, but at the same time, it's not as quick as some of the dual clutch boxes you will find in its German rivals. Then again, yes, you can have quick shifts. It has paddle shifters and it gives you good control over the gearbox. So yes, the powertrain is a pretty sorted one and lets you have good fun. And talking of fun, like I said, the oral experience, well, the oral experience is something that is phenomenally good, and this is how it goes. It is a blast. It is a complete oral blast. The sound you get, this is pure V8 sound, pure muscle. There is no artificial sound coming in through the speakers. So yes, now we've established that this is a fast car, it's a loud car, and it's good fun to drive. And of course, you would expect then it handles well too. Well, it does. I mean, it's not a bad handling car, but the problem is that the RCF is a pretty heavy car despite all of the carbon fiber that you see on it. Despite that, it weighs in over 1,700 kilograms, and that is pretty heavy for a car in this segment. And this weight is what hurts its performance, because if you're trying to go hard around corners, there is a bit of understeer that you will experience. You also have a slalom mode in this, so you can just switch to the slalom mode using this TVD button. And what this does is it comes with torque vectoring at the rear wheels, so you can get better grip around corners because the computer is able to sense what tire needs more grip, and accordingly the power is channeled between those two wheels. And that means not only can you go through a slalom quicker like this, but you can have great fun around corners, especially on the twisties. And while you might think that with all this performance it's not going to be an easy car to drive on an everyday basis, well, that's not the case, because switch it into normal mode or an eco mode and it becomes a very refined and a smooth car to drive. It's one of the few cars that comes with a large naturally aspirated motor, and trust me, you can't really have enough of its sound. You can keep doing this all day. It just doesn't get boring. So in the end, the Lexus RCF is a car that you would buy if you are someone who doesn't care about lap times or a couple of tenths of a second in terms of acceleration or a few kilometers in the top speed department. You would buy it if you're someone who loves a naturally aspirated engine and who loves the soundtrack such engine can deliver. It's pure, unadulterated fun. And in case by now you're wondering whether you should buy this car or if you dream of buying this car in some time, well, the bad news is the Lexus RCF is not officially on sale in India. But if you are someone who can pull some strings in the right place, maybe, just maybe, Lexus will import a car for you. And if that happens, this car will be costing you somewhere about rupees 2 crore. And for that money, well, it's not a cheap car. It is a very expensive car and probably even more expensive than some of its rivals. But the kind of experience it delivers, the kind of soul-stirring driving experience that the RCF delivers, well, that is what sets this car apart from anything else on the market. And that is precisely what sets the Lexus RCF apart from its rivals, and that's what gives it the magic and the kind of great experience it can deliver.